Welcome back to another episode of the Downsizing Roadmap podcast with your hosts, Jody Roscoe and Heather Fisher. We're talking about all things downsizing, from our own experiences with clients to guest experts. Let's make downsizing easier, one conversation at a time.
Hi, welcome to Downsizing Roadmap podcast. 4 rooms, 4 rules.
Yeah, let's make it simple today.
Yeah, we're going to just talk through some of the common areas and some rules. All 4 of these rules you can apply to every space you're going to work on. So we're going to go through some examples of those rooms that everybody has and apply them in real time and talk about what that looks like.
Yeah, I think that sometimes people just don't know where to get started and they feel overwhelmed. And so when you create a little framework of how to think about things, then that makes it easier. And so that's kind of what these rules are for. They're just to kind of help create a little framework so it makes it easier to make decisions.
Yeah, you can tackle any project when you just put a little foresight into it, a little intentionality, and aren't just looking at it like, how do I get started? What do I even do? Which I think is what we find with a lot of people that we talk to. They want to downsize, they want to have less, and they just are looking at their space where they've lived comfortably for years, maybe don't notice all the uncomfortable spaces or don't realize how much too much they have, and just need a way to approach sorting.
Right. I'm Jody Roscoe.
I'm Heather Fisher.
I think that decision fatigue is a real thing. And when you have parameters around it, it helps with the decision fatigue, because when everything is just all open, like if the question is like, what should I do with this thing, with no extra thoughts, putting it into any bucket of anything, that's hard to continue to think over and over, like all the possibilities that it could be, and then narrow down to something. Versus, if I answer these questions, these 4 rules, you're probably going to come up with the answer of whether you need it or not, and then you just rinse and repeat those, asking yourself those, and so it's not so much like just this big open question, right? Well,
it's a recipe for how to get through it. I mean, if you just walked into the kitchen with no cooking experience and, just picked up the skillet, okay, make something, right. You don't know. And so we do find, in going through things, people are handling a lot of items, but it's just like pick it up, look at it, have a little memory or thought around it, and then kind of set it back down, shuffle it around the room, shuffle from pile to pile, and nailing down to that decision on it. These questions and rules will help that.
Yep. Okay, so let's get started with them. Okay, so I'm going to just name the rules, and then we're going to talk about them each individually in the 4 rooms we're talking about today. So rule number 1 is, if you have 2 or 3 or 10, just keep 1, and only if you use it.
Yeah, the important caveat.
Right. Number 2 is, would you buy it again? So only keep it if you think you would need to rebuy it again, because if you got rid of it and you're like, nope, I used it enough that I would need to buy that again, then you need it. Rule number 3 is expiration over emotions. So sometimes stuff is just out of date. And so it may be like physically out of date, or maybe like stylistically out of date. But the question there is like, stop, don't be emotional about it. If it's out of date, it's time to let it go. And then rule number 4 is, if it hasn't moved, it doesn't matter, which means if it has dust on it, or if it's been dust around it because it's been sitting in the same place for so long, then that means you're not using it. So, Okay, so let's do this in the kitchen. So rule number 1 in the kitchen, if you have 2, keep 1 and only 1. This will happen when you take things out of drawers and realize, oh, look, I have 6 spatulas, or I have 3 mixing bowl sets, because when you start putting things away in cabinets, and depending on how big your kitchen is or deep, the cabinets are, you find that when you take it out of the cabinet, which is what you need to do when you start cleaning things out, you need to actually remove everything from where it is and look at it out on the countertop, because it looks totally different than in the cabinet. You'll automatically see things that you don't use.
Yeah, putting like things together will let you know, oh, do I have 10 spatulas, or,
right.
Mixing bowls, or all of the things. I just realized that myself. I think I have like 10 mixing bowls of various sizes, and I don't need them all, so need
Well,
to make some decisions.
We have like a drawer that has like utensils in it.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 drawers that have utensils in it, and then we have like a thing on the counter, like a crock or something
Yeah.
that has utensils in it. So those are the ones we use really all the time, and then there's the little things that we use a little less. But if I pulled all of the drawers out, I'm sure there's extra spatulas in those drawers that I don't hardly ever use because I just use the ones that are in the car. So you don't, like you said, when you take everything out and you lay it and you put like things together, you'll just be surprised at how much things that you might have doubles and triples of.
Yeah, I think that we spread out, and as we get more, we don't let go, and we just, oh, now we have, like you said, 2 utensil drawers. Oh,
Right.
now we're encroaching into 3, and
Right.
it just kind of spreads instead of keeping, the uses to match together and not needing so much.
Right. So put like things together and then keep the best one or maybe 2, depending on what you need. But you don't need 6 or 7 of whatever it is. So it only keep if you would rebuy it again. This is a question that you can just hold something and ask yourself, if I didn't own this, would I buy it again? Because owning it, remember, we've talked about this, owning it makes you feel like you need to have it because
Yeah.
you own it. Just whether you need it or not, just the fact that you have it means you think you should keep it. So the question is, would you spend money to keep it, right? Would you buy it again?
Yeah, I think that you can buy things. I know in the kitchen I fall trap to like gadgety one-use things, and I use them for a few weeks when they're the fad and when I'm excited about it. And most of those I've given a lot of them away, but I wouldn't need to buy them again. I'm not going to go back to the Instapot or the other things. I think we fall into that trap a lot.
Yeah. And some people will get that Instapot and they're like, I make every meal in it now because I've learned to do that and it's so cool, or the crock pot or whatever. But some
Yeah.
people's crock pots have been sitting, on the shelf for years and they're just like, oh, I need to own a crock pot. And it's like, well, maybe you don't because you don't, use it. So be kind of really honest with yourself about whether you use it and whether you would buy it again. Expiration over emotions. This one's easy in the kitchen because you have the pantry and, we all know our spices are totally expired. But, going through food, obviously, like that's easy to see, is that expired and letting go of all of that.
Yeah. Donating to food pantries. There are, if stuff is really expired, that's going to just be trash and food waste. But if you can stay ahead of those expiration dates, if you know you're not going to use it, that can still be put to good use, donating that to local organizations. So the more you're going through it and not getting way past those expiration dates, the more you can put that to good use helping someone else.
Yeah, and different food pantries have different rules. So, and some of them, they can't give out anything that's expired, and some of them it can be a time frame after it's expired. So I would say if it's just been expired, I would go ahead and give it just in case, unless you know that, or ask the rules of where you're giving it to what food pantry. But the one that we were just we're just volunteering at did have a bin of things that were expired for the last couple of years, actually. And I'm not sure what their process is to do with it, but it wasn't just going directly,
they
into
have resources that can use that for different things. So check on that, and the more you stay on top of it, the more, I have stuff in my pantry that I'm like, well, yeah, I bought that, but we didn't really like it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to use this second pack of whatever. So go ahead and clean that out.
Yeah, and I go through my pantry periodically, and I do ask myself, do I think I'll use it before it expires? Like if it's close, it's a month or two, am I going to be using that, or is it just go take it to the food pantry now? Because they'll give it away to people quickly who will use it.
Really happy to get that.
Yes, for sure. So, and then expiration can also be, that you just haven't used it forever, which is the fourth rule. If it hasn't moved, it doesn't matter, which means if it's dusty or if it's up in the tops of your shelves or in the backs of your cabinets, you aren't using it.
I think one thing I've learned as I've, downsized a lot of my belongings is learning to love and feel comfortable with some empty spaces. So, we have real tall cabinets and I can't reach the top shelf and they're empty, and like that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, you can also just almost feel like excited about it. Like you can decide
Yeah.
that, because I think that is our tendency, is to feel like every space needs to be filled up with something.
Yeah.
But you could just be like, I'm going to make sure there's nothing on the top shelves that I can't reach anyway of my cabinets. And,
I
it's
think,
okay.
yeah, and I think the same goes for our countertop surfaces. When that's relatively clear, maybe a crock of utensils or your coffee pot, or one or two things that you're using daily, when the rest of it is clear, your day is so much simpler. When you finish cleanup, you can wipe that counter down so easily, and that's how you're avoiding that dust and everything else, because it's just clear. You've already given that away, and then it's an easy wipe down.
Yeah. I think for sure that makes so I see so many people that just have lots and lots of things just out on the counter. And maybe that's because it's easier to access or whatever, but potentially you have things in the cupboard you're not using, and so those things could go away on the lower shelves, and you could actually put the things that are on the countertop up in a close proximity to where you can get easy access to it, and like you said, then it's very easy to clean the countertops and all of that. So ask yourself if you used it in the past 12 months. If I gifted this to somebody, would they be excited? And then toss anything that's not good. So okay, let's put the same rules into effect in the closet.
Yeah, good room that can usually a lot can go away from the closet.
Right. I think we fool ourselves in our closets of how much we actually wear. If you think in your head, how much are you actually laundering every week, which means you're wearing it and laundering it and putting it back. It's usually not nearly as much as we all have in our closets.
Yeah, we did an early episode on the 80-20 rule, which is the Italian economist Pareto. He discovered that 20% of the population of Italy was bringing in 80% of the country's wealth, and the financial picture was leaning on this 20%. And then as a hobby, he was also a gardener. So he realized that his pea plants that he was growing, 20% of his plants were bringing in 80% of the yield. And so that became Pareto's principle, the 80-20 rule, and you can apply that so many places. So I think that's what Jody's talking about in the closet. You're putting your 20% that you're wearing over and over, that same 20% that you love, in amongst the other 80%, and you're not really, you always have laundry, but it's the same laundry week after week. Right.
You wear those pants that feel good and all of that stuff. So, in the closet, if you have, again, you're going to pull everything out. You may find that you have 5 or 6 black shirts, right? This would be me. Just ask, just for example. So I just end up buying the same things over because that's what my style is, and so I'll end up. But if you start laying again, like things out, or put it in colors, or put it in long sleeves or short sleeves or whatever, and realize, oh my gosh, I have 67 T-shirts. Which ones of these am I actually wearing? Same with the drawers, right? Not just the closet. Like if you have drawers, you wear the stuff that's on the top, and then there's still a stack of things that you just continually stack things on top of and never wear. So pull that out and keep just 1 or 2 of each style of thing. If it's a black shirt, just keep one of those.
Yeah, and that goes to things that maybe you had more of in a different phase in life. If you had a career where you dressed up more, and you had a lot of dresses or suits or things like that, if that's not the phase that you're in, that's a great place to just keep those 1 or 2 for those events that come up that you do need some options for, but not every one of them.
Yeah, and I'm not saying keep one black shirt, period. I'm saying a black t-shirt and maybe a black long sleeve shirt and maybe a black dressy shirt, whatever. But you don't need the same one of a dressy long sleeve black shirt, 6 of them, right?
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
So, kind of just think about what doubles do you have?
Yeah. Next question to ask yourself is, would you buy it again? Do you need it? Would you need to have would you have occasion that you need this exact thing? Would you buy the same one? I think this kind of addresses the guilt we feel when we find stuff in our closet that still has the tags on it, or we never
just didn't
wore
fit
it.
right,
Yeah.
or it wasn't the right occasion, or you can't find something else to go with it, or whatever that is. Give yourself permission to let that go to somebody who would love it. And, yes, it has tags on it, but the money's spent and it's too late to return it. And, you've put it on 4 times and taken it right back off and realized it's just not working for you, and you aren't going to be doing that again. So I have a bag in my closet that when I put things on and they just don't fit right or feel right, it just goes in the closet donate bag, because if I put it back into the closet with, on a hanger, it will just sit there forever until I donate it. I will not be wearing it again. Like, you just pass it over as you're going through things. You don't even realize you're doing it.
Yeah. I feel like with online ordering, I'll get something that maybe is a mediocre response, but, I'm like, oh, I don't want to deal with return. I'm sure I like it. I'll wear it. And, so it hangs there too long. And unless you're buying something for a future, like, special occasion event that's very specific, that you're buying something ahead of time. If you've bought something brand new and you haven't found a reason to wear it in a week or two, a month, you're never going.
Right.
Like, if it's brand new and you're not excited enough to
take those tags off and wear it the day you get it.
Yeah, the next day, that's okay.
Yeah.
Mistake made, move on.
Yeah. Expiration over emotions. In clothes, expiration, I think, is style, right? So is the style not this, style that fits for your current lifestyle anymore? What is that? So
Yeah.
There's things that are in there that used to be something you loved maybe, but you haven't worn it in a long time because it just doesn't fit your current style. So for me, that's expiration in clothing. And then if it hasn't moved, it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
So I literally pulled out a pair of dress pants that I don't wear often, clearly, because the part on the hanger where it folds over was like dusty. So when I opened the pants, there was like a dust line on them. So
I think we've all experienced
literally,
that.
those are not ones that I wear often.
Yeah, I think you can just kind of peruse your closet. If you don't want to look for dust, I think, your trick of turning around the hangers is a great way to come to this same answer, in a few months if you're having trouble with your clothes closet. That would be to, once you've done an initial sort and you've gotten rid of some of it, but maybe you've kept a little too much still, hang it all back up with your hangers turned backwards. And then as you wear it and launder it, those things that you've worn, hang them the right way in the closet. And then 6 months from now, after that season is over, you'll know everything that's still on that backwards hanger you've not worn. And that's like the visible dust.
Yeah, right. So then you're like, oh, okay. And some of it, I did this, and some of it was like, well, that shirt's cute. Like, and the hanger was still backwards. And I can look at the shirt objectively and be like, it's cute, but I never reached to wear it. For whatever reason, it's not it. It doesn't give me the joy that I need when I'm wearing clothes. And so it's okay. It's time for it to go. And somebody else is going to think it's cute and really want to wear it. And that's what the purpose of this is to just, let go of the things that are making our lives heavy and share them with people who need them, or they'll make their lives happy.
Yeah, if it's not serving you, it can serve someone else.
Yeah, and we've talked about this a lot, but there is heaviness in too many things. So it turns into emotional clutter. It turns into anxiety. It will be life-changing if you only have in your closet things that fit you, things that you want to put on, and you're not trying to search between the things that you don't want to find the things that you do want. It actually, it will be life-changing. Getting dressed will be so much more fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, should we move on to room 3, the bathroom?
Yes. Okay, so back to the rules. If you have 2 or more, just keep 1. And this, I think, some of it is I when I think of it in the bathroom, I think of it like you bought a lotion and it wasn't, you used like some of it and it wasn't quite right, but then you bought another lotion because that one wasn't really doing it, but it was still half a bottle, so you weren't going to throw it away. And then you haven't found the one you love, and so then that stuff just accumulates, right? And so just let it go. If you didn't love it, you're not going back to it,
Yeah. I think the same thing happens when that type of stuff comes in as gifts too.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have some lotion you're using and then Christmas comes and you get a few and they're, beautiful scents and you're like, oh, this is lovely. And then you use that up and our brains don't register, hey, there's still a half a bottle of something else,
Right.
Down below, and we just buy something
More.
else, buy more.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and if you use it and if you trade them out and, whatever, then keep it. I'm not saying to, get rid of things that you are actually using, because that's, that's the thing. But so question 2 is, would you buy it again? So same thing, right? If you are using half the bottle of lotion, you aren't buying that lotion again, right?
Yeah.
You decided when there was still half a bottle that it wasn't it. And that could be anything. That could be perfume. That could be, any kind of toiletries, all of that stuff. And so just be honest with yourself. Makeup, I think makeup accumulates. You get a new mascara, but you don't throw away your old one or whatever.
Yeah, especially things with different colors. You have, 6 lipsticks that were the wrong shade, and you're never going to pick it up
Right.
again, but you just hang on to it. I think for me, seasonal stuff happens like that, sunscreen and things. We have a whole bin of sunscreen, and then the next summer comes and, you want it for being outside heavily. And I'm like, okay, there's the sunscreen rack at the grocery, and I'll stock back up.
Well, sunscreen expires too, and that's the next one. Is it expired?
Yeah.
So sunscreen actually does expire and doesn't give you the same level of protection it says on the bottle after a certain amount of time. So yeah, we all have the sunscreen bag or whatever, and you need to go through it and see what it is. And it's not. I don't think it would not work at all, but I think it would not give you the same amount of protection that you're expecting when you're doing it. So,
and if you've bought those new ones, throw the old ones away, because you're not going to ever pick the old one over the new one in front of it. So
right.
Yeah.
So the next one is expiration, and that is you're going to find medication that's expired. You really shouldn't keep makeup more than 6 months, right? Or especially eye makeup. And some of it you don't even get through in that amount of time, but it's not healthy. So, lots. I could dump most of my makeup drawer, I think, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
probably time for that.
Yeah, I could probably do that as well. And I mean, when I went through before we moved our linen closet at our, old house, as I was getting ready to pack it, I've said this before, but when you opened the door, because we had space, it didn't feel overcrowded. So it wasn't hitting me with like, oh, this space really needs decluttered. But when I went through and took out all of the things we don't use or were expired or were, hardened and,
right. Weird colors now.
Yeah, all those things. I mean, it was a pretty full trash bag of stuff. And, but it's looked neat and orderly. So even if your spaces are not feeling like they're overcrowded, this is a great exercise. You'll find more than you thought you had to get rid of.
I just let go of a whole bag of hair stuff, hair ties, hair clips. I realized I had literally 15 hair clips. I don't need that. I only use it to basically wash my face for the most part. So I kept 2 or 3, and I let go, and somebody took them and was super excited about it, and so. Even if it's good, I mean, that's okay. Just give it to somebody who wants it. And the final one is, if it hasn't moved, it doesn't matter. And so that stuff, we're back to being dusty. But I think where you'll find most of this stuff is in the back of the back of your cabinets, or bottoms of your drawers, and those things that just kind of get pushed back, and they just take up that space back there that you just don't ever look at it again, and it's dusty back there.
Yeah, I think one way to look at that is, your vanity or your linen closet shelf or your medicine cabinet, just being really aware. I have 2 drawers in my vanity that all my daily stuff is in, and I'm kind of like, wonder what's in those other 2 bottom drawers. Like,
Right.
They're not accumulating dust per se because they're in a drawer, but I'm not really opening them.
But that's
so
the thing,
they
when you
could
don't
be
open it,
empty.
it's like out of sight, out of mind. You don't even know, you obviously don't need it, but you just let it like linger in there, and it just doesn't
Yeah.
need to. That's back to being okay with some open space.
Yeah.
It feels like, it's okay if it's not full of everything. But
Yeah.
and some things that people acquire are like hotel, they keep all the hotel things, which is fine if you're going to travel with it or whatever. But do you use it to travel, or do you just use the ones that you have when they get there? And what does that look like? Because those could easily be donated. Those are actually really used if they're donated.
Yeah. And I think, again, stuff like that is great places to put parameters. Like, we have one small clear bin on the shelf in our linen closet that has all the travel size stuff. So if we are traveling, there's some toothpaste tubes that are small, all of those things, but it's not just everywhere and we'd never find it. I know if I'm going somewhere, that's where I go get it, and that's where it is. So when you're containing all like things together, you can look like, am I going to travel 40 weeks out of the year to use all this?
Right.
Or do I just need a small portion?
Right. Okay. Last room for today. So last room for today is the garage. The
Yes.
garage, where things go to die. We sort of half make decisions often on things in the garage. I mean, there are things that are supposed to live in the garage, but there's a lot of things in the garage that usually aren't supposed to live in the garage. But it's like, oh, I don't know where to put this. I'm going to put it out in the garage, which is like almost to the trash, but it doesn't quite make it to the trash or donation or whatever. So I think there's a lot of things in the garage that probably could easily get let go of right away. But okay, so if we're going to go through the rules, rule number 1 is if you have more than one of them, you're just going to keep one, right? So back to like things together. Put all the like things together. And this is in your house everywhere. Like if you have batteries all over the house, put those all together. You probably don't even know how many you have, right?
Yeah.
So put like things together. And so start like that in the garage as well. Put like things together. And then if you have several of something, either use it up. Don't buy more before you use it up. That's the other thing in all of these things. Like maybe you'll find things you're like, I didn't even know I had this, and I use it. I do use it. So then make sure you use it before you buy another one.
Yeah, and I think the garage, like you said, is kind of 2 distinct things. Sometimes it's actual garage stuff that often needs downsized and decluttered because we collect too much of that, just like the kitchen. But sometimes it's storage, and it really is like double delayed decisions, because you delayed decisions on things inside in the closets where these items might reside, and so they're too full, and these are the things that were too full for those delayed decisions, and so now they're in the garage in worse storage condition usually, and you're really double delaying.
Yeah, things will degrade more in the garage for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's something that you really actually feel like is important, it shouldn't be stored in the garage.
Yeah.
And so, that's going to just take up physical space and mental space. The same thing. If your garage is super packed and you can't park your car in there, or you can only park one in there, you are, your first entry to your house, like let's say you can only put your one car in the garage. The first entry to your house is already anxiety. You may not notice it anymore because you live with it, but just you walk, if you have a whole pile of stuff on the one side of your garage, it is giving you anxiety every time you pull in. And that's your entry to your house. Like you're supposed to be like, I'm home. And you're actually like, ugh, it just already feels a little bit,
weighing on you.
Yeah. So, okay. So just keep one. Number 2, only keep what you'd rebuy. I think there's a lot of stuff in the garage we probably wouldn't rebuy. But, if you have gardening tools and you use them, great. But do you use them all? Like which ones? Or are you hiring your yard done now and you're not going to use your gardening tools anymore?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Is that the place where you're regular tools are, not outdoor tools,
Yeah.
but
Hammers and
your workshop
yeah.
type tools live. Same question. Are you still using them at the same level that you might have in a different phase in life?
Yeah. So would you need to rebuy something if you let it go, or would it be like, oh yeah, I don't do that anymore?
Yeah.
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 Expiration. Is there stuff that's expired out there, either physically expired or expired out of your life? Like you don't use those
Yeah.
things anymore in your life.
We just experienced this. This is funny, but we had our lamppost replaced at the new house, and so they had to trench where the the electrical
Yeah.
wires are buried from the house to the lamppost, and so we needed to put new grass seed. And we had carried a half-used bag of grass seed from my house like 6 years ago, was still traveling along with us, and my husband used it on we should use up what we have, and used that and, watered it for like 2 weeks with no grass coming up in that spot, and finally was like, okay, that was probably too old. Let me go buy a new bag. And, 3 days later, we're seeing the little green sprouting. And he's like, yeah, I should have decided on that.
Expired grass.
Yeah. So the garage thing's expired too, folks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and my first thought was it's different grass, like because in our yard, somebody before we had bought it had put like wherever it was, they put whatever random grass. So now
Yeah.
our yard is like
Spotty.
all these
polka
different
dots.
grasses. So that's the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, we tried to grow grass from a way expired seed.
Yeah.
And it does not work.
Yeah, I don't know if that was the lawn people that did that. I don't know who did that, but anyway, yeah, that's the whole thing. But yes, and
Yeah.
seeds definitely expire if you're a gardener and you have packets of seeds and that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. They won't grow. Yeah,
A lot of chemicals or
Yes.
herbicides and things that you want to use.
paint that's dried up.
Paint,
Yeah.
definitely. And most counties, cities or counties will have some form of disposal. It can look different in different areas. We have transfer stations in the counties around us that they have some sort of a plan for taking these type of chemicals and paint. So look that up and have a plan around that. If you're going to go through it, try to align that with maybe it's a once a month date, maybe it's once a week, and just take it right there where
Yeah.
they'll take those hazardous waste disposal.
Yeah, don't just
items.
like pile it up until it's actually difficult to get rid of.
Yeah.
And then the last rule on this one is if it hasn't moved, it doesn't matter. That's back to dusty again. But I think that the other things that go in the garage are things that are broken that we're gonna fix, but then we never do fix them. And so
Yeah.
I think you'll find those things that are things that haven't moved because you have some intention that is not happening, and maybe old projects that you thought you were gonna get to, but you never did. And so maybe just be kind of realistic about the fact that isn't gonna happen. Yeah. So.
All good advice.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, okay. So hopefully these rules will kind of give you a little mindset shift or an opportunity to make decisions easier by just kind of putting everything through one or more of these rules so that it's really easy for you to decide, hey, I should keep this or I should not keep this.
Yeah, help through that decision fatigue and have a clear plan on how to make those choices.
Yep. So get sorting.
Yeah, if you need any resources, downsizingroadmap.com. We do have a free downsizing guide that can dive into some more strategies to help get started and some challenges to make it easier. And that is also at our website, downsizingroadmap.com/guide. And if you're at a point that you're ready for some more in-depth help, you want to talk about your strategy or talk to an agent about how to get started towards that move, downsizingroadmap.com/help. All right, we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us on the Downsizing Roadmap podcast. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who might need a little downsizing inspiration. Have questions or ideas for future episodes? Reach out to us on our website, www.downsizingroadmap.com. Until next time, let's keep simplifying and moving forward.